I'm Mike Benton for ThunderVision. More pieces to the puzzle for the 2010 and 11 season were added today with a fresh-faced youngster, Jordan Cyr, out of Holy Cross. He signed a one-year contract the year after he led Holy Cross in scoring. Thunder head coach Matt Thomas joins me here to talk more about the recent newest addition. And Coach, so much homework goes into these pickups. Ultimately, why are you excited to hear about Jordan Cyr?
Well, Jordan's actually a guy that we were trying to get in here at the end of the season last year, not knowing if we were going to get a guy like Matt Marquardt or even Jason Pitton back. And I think you always have to prepare. So we had, I think we were a few hours away from actually getting him on a plane and getting him out here to join us for the stretch run in the playoffs. And unfortunately for him, it didn't work out. Fortunately for us, we got some pretty good players that obviously helped us go on a long playoff run. But as soon as our playoffs were done, he was one of the first guys I called to make sure he was still interested in coming to Stockton. And talking with his agent, we were able to come to an agreement. And I think he's a guy. He's a guy that I think is going to be an impact first-year player. You talk about guys like Oren Eisenman, Igor Gongalski that have been able to come in and be those types of guys offensively. A guy like Chris Delvise and James Bates. I think he's a guy right in that mold. The one thing about Jordan is he's got the touch. He's got a knack. He's a guy who's got the ability to put the puck in the net and make players around him better. And anytime you lead your team in scoring at any level, it's because you're a special player in a lot of different ways. And I'm hoping that he can come in here and be that impact guy that we're looking for some first year guys, and if we can really find that right combination with him and some other players, I think we can create some more potential scoring threats throughout our lineup. So I'm excited for a guy like Jordan to come in and be an impact guy for us as a first year player.
Speaking of some of those players that you mentioned, Oren Eisenman has experience at RPI, Chris Dalvise out of Clarkson, James Bates out of Quinnipiac, and yet you get another guy here who comes out of a Northeastern school. Now, granted, it's not like the junior schedule where you're playing a lot of games, but yet, what's the one thing that these players have in common that makes them so ready for the pro game?
Well, I think that when you're getting the guys out of college as opposed to major junior players, usually they're a lot more mature physically and mentally. I think college, anyways, I don't remember much of the content in my classes from college, but I remember what it taught me on how to prioritize and how to understand and how to problem solve and analyze things. And I think just years gives you that opportunity. Coming out of junior, all these guys play junior before they go to college, and I think college allows their bodies to mature physically and their brains to mature along with that, and they start to understand the game on both sides of the puck a lot more, and physically they're able to fight through some of the things that you need to fight through to be a professional hockey player. So I think that's one thing. But the one thing that I go back to all the time is I love looking at their numbers over the last few years, especially guys that are coming to college. But I always go back to look at their numbers in their junior years of playing hockey. Most of them are back in Canada, and the guys that are the big time scorers in their last couple of years of junior end up being very good college players, and that's a little bit more indicative of what type of a player you may be able to see as a first year pro, because they're playing that elongated schedule compared to their collegiate one. So it's I think a guy like Jordan, he was a big time player in junior hockey, and he was a big time player at Holy Cross, one of the best players in that Atlantic Hockey Conference, and I think a guy who's going to be able to come in here and be an impact player right from the get-go.
You now have 2 forwards and 2 defensemen under contract. Ultimately, how satisfied are you with the way the offseason recruiting is going?
Well, it's certainly still too early, but I think the one thing that you have to consider with this offseason is we're going into a season where we've had the least amount of teams that we've ever had in the ECHL, at least in my tenure, in my 8 years that I've been in the league, and with 19 teams and only the Central Hockey League, with the IHL for the most part disbanding, a few teams joining the Central Hockey League, there's going to be more players available and less jobs available. So I don't want to jump the gun. I think every player that brought back has either been a core guy from last year and a guy that I know is going to make an impact, or it's been a new type of player that I think is going to be able to not only just fit in, he's going to add to what we want to do here. So it's going slow, but that's the methodical approach I want to take. I know that in August and September, there's going to be some impact players, especially in September, guys that have been invited to NHL rookie camps that might not come out with a contract, that are going to be looking for homes. And ideally for us, we'd like to be in a situation where we're not oversold in terms of jobs available, and we've got room to add some of those impact players and potentially put us over the top. So it's heading in the right direction. A lot of good conversations with a lot of good players out there. Again, I'm going to be a little bit more methodical than I have been in the past and make sure that I'm doing all the homework, and anybody that I add, I've got to have a strong feeling that I know they're going to be an impact player when given the opportunity.